Hello, and welcome to Senior Bitches, where we celebrate incredible women over 50, and some men too, who are changing the landscape around conventional aging in inspiring and creative ways. So thank you so much for stopping by today and sharing your valuable time with us. I am your hostess, Mary Jo Eustace, and according to my driver's license, in most countries, I am officially a Senora citizen. I'm still having fun navigating life, and I'm finding this the most curious and learning continuum of my whole life. Well, today I am fucking navigating it big time. I've been doing, I know, right off the bat, an F word, we can always bleep it out. I've been doing Senior Bitches for a few years now, and I absolutely love it. It's given me the opportunity to meet women all over the globe who are healers, seekers, icons, trailblazers, activists, entrepreneurs, disruptors, and conduits for joy and change. They inspire me daily with the risks they take, and what I've learned from doing this show is that everything comes down to risk and the brave choices you make, no matter how small or how monumental. And accepting that life changes and is changing every single second, and our lives are our creation that we actively do with every choice that we make. God knows we screw it up a lot of the time, but that, of course, is all part of the process. We are all works in progress, lost, found, directed, flailing, winning, losing, and everything in between, all of it. And here I am today, and you know what I'm doing? It's a question. I am dedicating the podcast to me. And to all you senior bitches out there, of course, as well. This is a crazy and challenging time for so many, and it seems more than ever that change is the operative word, whether we like it or not. And at 62 years of age, I'm making a big, huge U-turn. I'm heading back after 20 years in Los Angeles, heading back to my hometown of Toronto, Canada, to begin a brand new mofo chapter of settling into my 7th decade. WTF. Okay, here I go. And as much as I'm terrified, I think I'm kind of excited too what lies on the other side, but I am ready for it. And it all begins in 2 or 3 days. My apartment is totally empty. It looks like a college dorm. It's so gnarly ass. But today I get to spend time with one of my favorite junior senior bitches in training, my ultra fab producer, Sarah Burke. And we're going to discuss all areas and all ages of our lives, embracing the risk of it all. Right?
Before we go any further, let me hear you do like a hello, hello, hello in your empty
house.
Hello.
It's empty.
You can hear.
Nothing here. There's nothing here. Oh, Canada, how's it going, eh? I'm going to be there in a few days.
So when did you make this decision? I mean, when you got back from the fires was like the last time we sort of talked about this. Bring us back.
Bring us back. Reel it in. Well, you know what? I've been thinking about relocating for a while. I've been thinking, Los Angeles has really changed since COVID. And I've been thinking that I need a new chapter. And I think a lot of us, I'm an empty nester. I sold my house. I don't know if you heard, I'm single, no boyfriend, by choice. And apparently women over 60 with no partners live longer and they're happier. So that's a good thing to know.
Yeah.
But I have been thinking about it for a little while. And then I went over to Canada over Christmas and I was taking care of Dementia Central with my parents and getting them all set up. And as I was home, reconnecting with friends mostly, really enjoying Toronto, enjoying the city, I'm like, I think I need a change. And as it happened, this apartment came up that was rent-free, that overlooks, not rent-free, sorry, I wish, Freudian slip, rent control, that overlooks the whole city. And I'm like, if this apartment comes through for me, I'm going to maybe relocate. I'm going to maybe head back home. So I dragged my feet for like 6 weeks. And then finally I decided to take it. Then I had to pack up my apartment. Then I had to sell my car. And still I didn't believe I was going back to Canada. And only now has it settled in because my furniture is gone. So
you sold your car?
I sold my car. Everything. I did everything. I got rid of everything.
You didn't want to have a car when you get back to Toronto?
No. I got rid of it. Yep. I went to the dealership and this girl who looked really kind of like introverted and quiet came back and said, here's the offer. You have an hour. Yes or no? And I'm like, I'm going to do it.
Okay.
I sold my car. She drove me home. It's carless. I'm furnitureless. I want to say I'm pantless, but I'm not. I've got pants on. And I am heading back. At 62, I'm going to be 63 May 1st. I am having a whole new chapter to my life. What do you think of that?
I mean, I'm excited because we have not met in real life yet. And I feel like we owe it to ourselves to have a night on the town. I think it'll be so much fun. But yeah, like I think, it's nostalgic to move back somewhere where, you spent your whole adolescence. And when did you leave town? What
I
age were you?
left when I was married. You might have heard I left when I was married for my then husband's career.
Right.
And I use that term loosely.
But what age was that? Like, was it like in your 20s, 30s?
Late 30s.
Okay. So
Late
yeah.
30s.
You'll be putting down some new roots by the sounds of it. And what happens with the kids? The kids are staying out?
My daughter's at university. My son's in WeHo. He is going to go to law school in the fall.
Great.
I went out drinking with him and his friends. It was a drag queen brunch. I had 2 margaritas and they sent me home in a cab at 6:30. That was it. I couldn't do any more. So he's super supportive of it. And it's just going to be a great home base for all the adventures that I want to do. But, I know we've interviewed such cool women and some men on this podcast, but I think everybody is, especially at this age, you reevaluate. You want different adventures, you want like different experiences, and doing it in your 60s is not for the faint of heart. But what the hell? I mean, why not? Right?
And no strings attached. Like you are making decisions just for you. Your kids are doing their own things too.
They are. So it's just going to be me, pretty much.
Now, how close to home base, like Dementia Central, are you going to be?
Oh, that is a really good question. I am 10 minutes from Dementia Central. That's where my dad is. He's got dementia. And then I actually, moved into the same apartment building as my mother, but on a different floor.
Okay, there's some separation.
There's some separation, but I told her, we've got to have our boundaries.
Yeah.
But we're on opposite sides, but I'm moving into the same building, and it's sort of like the Grand Hotel. It's like got all these widows and interesting people and fabulous gay men, and it's a really, really cool little spot. So I'm gonna move in there.
Is there a sauna? Is there like a games room? Is there any of that stuff?
Is there a games room? Well, everybody's 90. I don't know if I want to go to the games room. They actually have a party once a month.
Okay.
If people remember to go. Okay. Like they have that once a month. And then right across the street from me is yoga and this other place called Outer Ship. Have you heard of it? Or Other Ship?
Other Ship.
Yes. Have you heard of this place?
I've been to Other Ship. Yes, I have been to an Other Ship. There's a few different locations.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And what it is for our listeners, it's like this place where you go and it's a massive sauna and like 50 or 60 people go in the sauna.
And cold plunge.
And then you cold plunge in the ice baths, which are horrible. So, you're sitting in there in your bathing suit, right? Sweating your ass off. One guy barfed. That was not cool. Yeah. Did not like that.
Didn't hear about that.
He barfed outside the sauna. But then, so you're in the sauna, you sweat, it's great. Then they go and they take you to the baths and you're supposed to cold plunge for 2 minutes. Pretty much. Yeah.
But what I do love about it is people are swapping the idea of like going out and getting wasted for, hey, I'll meet you at Other Ship and so it's like a wellness based social event.
Pickup bar. Do you know that 2 guys tried to pick me up half my age?
At Other Ship?
At Other Ship.
Okay.
And there's some hot babes there. And this one guy, really cute guy, because I got out of the tub early and then he came up to me during the break and said, I'll go sit with you if you want to go in the tub. If you want to do the cold plunge. So I did. So it was social. It was kind of fun. So I've got all that sort of cool stuff. So some wise person asked me, what am I going to lose going home and what am I going to gain?
Oh, I love this question.
Is that a good question?
Yes. This is from a listener?
No, it's from my therapist.
Oh, also very wise. Also very wise. Well, okay. So, and I think there's always a grieving process, right? When you're grieving just a part of your life, closing a chapter and moving into the next. So what are the biggest lessons learned from this chapter that you will carry with you into the next?
Oh, good question.
Right.
Yeah. I think that I've been here for 20 years.
Yeah.
I came down married. I got divorced. I adopted a daughter. I bought a house as a single woman, divorced, like my dream home, which by the way, just got demolished last week. I sold it a year ago. It got demolished. So my house, they wanted the lot. My daughter went to school in the neighborhood. Like I know every restaurant, every beach, every twist and turn. I went out last night with my friends for dinner, Jane and Francois. He's Canadian. And Jane's one of my best friends. And they've been my best friends for 20 years. I hang out with them like I'm the third wheel. And we were all crying at dinner because I'm going to miss them so much. But they're on a journey too. They're empty nesters. They're just moving to their new house. Like can't believe we're in our 60s. But it's like a slow goodbye and letting go of all this stuff, right? Like even letting go of possessions. Like I've let go of a ton of possessions and things that I don't need. And everywhere I look, if I look out my window, I see a memory, I see something. So it is like a grieving process, which has been really interesting. But then I'm looking at what I'm going to gain on the other side, which is, cold weather. No, there's more than that. It's like, I think, honestly, stability. I think Canada's a little bit more stable than what's going on here. And I love both countries very much. I'm dual citizen. I love both countries. But Los Angeles is not what it was 5 years ago. Yeah. It's been completely gutted by COVID and the fires. And it's a different place. And everybody is so on edge. And the Tesla drivers almost run over me 10 times a day. They are insane. They're the angriest people, which is interesting. Yeah, it's the Tesla
funny, though,
people.
Because people say those exact things about Toronto, too.
Do they really?
Yes, totally.
Really?
Like everyone's so busy and rushing and whatever. But I do think, in comparison to LA and what it's become, that there's a case for that for sure.
Yeah. And it's just going to be this cool little jumping off space. And I like where it is. And I've got, great friends there and great adventures that are going to be super, super cool. And I'm going to go to Europe in the middle of April and meet my friend Anne-Marie. And we're going to try and start a European business around senior bitches.
Okay.
So I'm going to do that. And of course I can do podcasts from there too. Yeah. So I am pushing myself to do all the things that make me uncomfortable. Like moving from here, you literally had to put a bomb under me to get me to do the move. Yeah. But I think it's a good move. I think it's a really good move.
So in terms of what you're saying goodbye to, letting go of, it's possessions.
Possessions.
What else?
Image.
You're shedding an image.
I'm shedding an image.
It's so interesting.
LA is not for the faint of heart. Yeah. I think I've sort of gotten bored of that aspect of it a little bit, the influencer culture, sort of the fake culture. Well, the fakeness vibe of it is actually really hilarious. But I do have so many friends here who are real solid friendships that I love and adore. But it's a place in transition now. The business is leaving. It's kind of got a different feel to it. It's a little apocalyptic, a little bit. Yeah.
And what's something that you're looking forward to picking up again in Toronto that maybe is from your past?
What am I looking forward to picking up? It's being really grounded. Canadians are grounded. Mm-hmm. We are a grounded, funny bunch. Like we're grounded. Like it's kind of no bullshit. So I have the same friends that I had when I was 10 years old. And then I've got new friends as well. So, who knows what's going to happen when I get there? I'm really not sure.
The dating apps, they're going to be totally different.
It's all the same. I'm off the dating apps. I'm not using the dating apps. So what do you think in your life, because you're a little younger than I am, what do you think has been the stuff that's made you do the biggest change in your life? What's been the impetus? Has it been fear? Has it been boredom? Like what has spurred you on to make big decisions in your life?
The biggest decision, probably still to this day, that I've ever made in my life was to walk away from a job I loved, was obsessed with, like my favorite job ever at SiriusXM, because I didn't like how I was being treated as a woman. Right?
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, and I never would have started this network that you are a part of if I had not gone through that experience. And I didn't know I was creating a podcast network, for the record. I just hoped that people would want to continue working with me. But here's what I found. I feel like I'm 3 years removed from that now. March 2022 is when I quit.
March is always a clusterfuck of a month. There's something about the Ides of March. It's 31 days, but it always seems like 2 years. March has never been super kind month. It's not.
It's always my birthday too, always in March. So
it would be.
what I noticed is that like who I was in that era of my life was associated with something external, right? Like a brand.
That's it.
That
That's
was
it.
external, which
Right.
at the time was like, I didn't know who I was outside of SiriusXM, right? Like even in my introduction, like meeting people, reaching out to shake someone's hand, Sarah, yes, I do this at SiriusXM. I manage the Canadian music department. I do this and this. So like that 6 months after, when I was trying to figure out who am I without that, I think you will also go through something very similar with like, who am I without LA? Right?
Right, because I'm the girl from California, right? I'm from California. And I was talking to somebody, and California is like such a place of dreams and possibilities. I mean, it's so beautiful here that it can distract you, right? Like the energy is it's a lulling energy because there's not much of a season change or anything. And I said, it's such a place of dreams to come here and dream and do it. And she said, you should be able to carry that anywhere.
Also
it doesn't
important.
have to be a place. Like it can be anywhere as long as you carry it with you. And I think that speaks to what a lot of people are going through right now. Like what can they do? How can they, the climate is so uncertain in so many ways. Like how can we make a difference? How can we make a shift to feel better or to do something that feels, even like I said in the intro, it can be the smallest little incremental thing in the world or the largest. Like we have to just keep changing. And this is part of it. And I'm getting older. I know the Botox is helping, but
You look great.
I'm getting older. And again, this is another interesting thing. Deepak Chopra, you've heard of him, of course.
Yes.
Once or twice. I listened to this interview, and I actually interviewed Alana Stewart, and she talked about this because I asked her age. And she said, well, what does that mean? I don't really associate a number with my age. And I listened to this woman getting interviewed about how we attach to numbers and time. And I'm really bad at that, right? I always say I'm 62 or I'm, 62 and 47 days and 3 minutes old or whatever. But we attach something to time. And they did this experiment. Well, it happened with 7 people who were stranded without water for 7 days. And one person had a watch. So they could count the time, the whole time,
Yes.
and mentally know that 7 days I'm going to go without water. But the people who didn't acknowledge time and just said, I'll cut it in half, it's just a couple of days, survived. Because they didn't attach to the concept of time. And I think we're so conscientious of how old we are and how many days and hours and stuff like that, that makes us feel our age. So I'm going to try not to do that anymore. I'm going to try not to connect so much to the actual number. Right?
That is some food for thought. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And what about, like, because you get to start fresh, brand new apartment, right? Do you think
Yes.
that how you set up your space now will be different from the last time you set up a space?
I do, because this space that I set up, even though it's lovely, it never felt like home to me, ever.
Why? Why do you think
I
that?
don't know. It just never did. Well, the day that I moved in is the day I broke up with a relationship. Well, I didn't know it was going to be broken up because he was supposed to call me back, but that was 2 years ago. So I didn't know that it was actually going to be a breakup.
Yeah.
But it was. And then I went to sell my house and it fell out of escrow 4 times. So it was just, it was a chaotic time. So I'm going to choose very differently. And there is something about being in Canada that feels secure right now, that does feel really super comforting. And so I'm going to commit to that being my home base. So I'm
You keep
looking
saying
forward to
home
that.
base. Home base, not home.
I know, home base, because I want to roam.
Which I do think is great for you too.
I want to do a little roaming. I want to see what's out there.
Yeah. Now, I just talked about this on another podcast. Would you revisit places you've already been, or the idea is to be places you've never been?
Both.
Okay.
Both. I want to go back to Italy. I'm obsessed with Italy. I know you're going.
Yes. I forgot about that we would both potentially be there at the same time. I'm in, what is it? Monte San Savino.
Okay.
Do you know where that is?
In May? Yeah, you're in Tuscany.
It's in Tuscany, and flying through Florence, May 27th through June 9th is like my overall trip. There's a yoga retreat in there, but there's time on either side.
I'll be there.
Oh my
I'm going to be there, so we have to connect.
Yes, and you will love the girlfriend that I'm traveling with. You will find her hilarious.
Okay, so that's a date, and I've got my date in France with my friend, and she's going to take me to her house in Normandy on the weekend. I'm open for business. That's basically. Yes. But I'm telling you, the last 2 or 3 weeks, it's been like pushing a rock up a hill. It's been hell. Mercury has been so badly in retrograde, it's not even funny. Like, and everything planned, forget about it. It's just, nothing is sticking, right? It's just been insane.
Yeah. Of course, I'm your producer. You can tell me to take this out if you want me to. But are you up for talking about what's been going on with your daughter a little bit?
Oh, yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes, I am. Thank you for bringing that up.
Because that is part of the boulder you've been pushing up the hill. So yeah, just like, of course, like any parent, you want the best for your daughter, but your daughter is in a phase.
Okay, this is really important to talk about because we forget, like, all the young kids right now, politics aside, wherever you stand on politics, the world is really a topsy-turvy place. And things that were given, like you get an education, you buy a house, you have a good life, you get a car, you retire, that does not exist anymore. Even Social Security at this point could be taken off the table. Forget about the environment, it's like a shit show, human rights, healthcare, like everything. So my daughter's been struggling in school. She was in pre-med. And then last semester, she kind of, spiraled out, and we got her into like a new major, hospitality. And the same thing happened again this semester.
So are we feeling like it's like a lack of connection with what she's studying or other stuff going on?
Well, we talked a bit about that too, like the ADHD. And we also talked about like the mental health of these kids right now is really precarious, And when she, education for me is everything. Like I devoted all my time, energy, finances to my kids' education. So when I say like about letting go of image and stuff like that, I have a son going to law school. I have a daughter in pre-med. Well, now what I have is a daughter who I can say withdrew, but she dropped out, but her scholarship is still in place, right? Okay. So she was going to stay and go to the end of it. And, but Mom, I'm probably going to not pass these courses. And I'm like, well, it's okay. Just get to the end. And then I went to bed and I got up the next morning and I'm like, what am I doing? This is all just image. This is all smoke and mirrors. She's talking to me and telling me I am not going to get through this. Yeah. I'm not. So why am I making her do this? It is smarter to withdraw, hold on to the scholarship, meet with her professors, and start to build what's important to her. And it's like been the biggest learning curve lesson for me. And, I went out for dinner with a friend a couple of weeks ago, and she has an adopted daughter too. My daughter's adopted. And of course that doesn't mean anything. It happens to, kids all the time. And I started telling her about what's going on. And she's like, well, I mean, it's so hard for kids. And of course, and I started crying because she was so, I was going to say forgiving, which is like, why would, because I'm trying to forgive myself about this. Like, I feel so terrible about it. But she was so understanding. Mm-hmm. She said, you did the best you could. This is her journey. Yeah. You have to let her go through her journey. And I know there's so many parents out there who are having this. And I've been talking to some friends lately, quite a few actually. And another friend on Friday, and I go for the big reveal. Oh, she withdrew. And the answer is like, yeah. My son almost did. He probably is going to next fall or whatever. And it was such a relief to talk about that. And because we're so hard on ourselves as parents and we want this certain narrative, and it was not going to happen.
I think what you just told me is that you kind of figured out it wasn't your narrative that you should be concerned with. It was hers, right?
It was hers. This was hers.
Corner. You've turned a corner since the last time we talked about this, which, I mean, I knew that you were coming from a loving place and like your intentions were gold, but like you didn't know what to do at the point where this breaking point happened. Like you were just like, oh my God, like I can't let her drop out. And I know it's not just a case of like, oh, this will make me look bad. There's like a little nugget in the back of your brain about like, how do we explain this to people? Right.
Yes, of course.
But really you were like, no, I want her to have a good education. Like that's what was at the forefront of it. Yeah. So how did you, talking to people, but how did you turn that corner? Like, what did she say to you that helped you understand maybe where she wants to go and what she cares about more right now?
Well, I think that I had to, because I was imposing what I wanted, because I'm a pusher througher. I don't know if you are, but my son and I push through to our detriment. We don't stop. Like, I don't take no. I keep going, and sometimes it's actually not the best decision. And she said to me, I'm just not like that. I'm just not like that. Then she explained to me where she was at and everything, and it made sense to me. And it was like, I just really have to listen to her. I really have to listen to her and trust her and respect what she's saying. And that's not to say I'm going to let her off the hook and, finance
No.
everything. It's not, but she's telling me her truth. And it's true. And it's not mine, but it's hers. So I had to sort of go, okay, well, we're going to have to zig and zag a little here because I'm so used to fixing everything along the way, but I couldn't fix this the way I wanted to fix it, which was a big learning curve for me. It's like, oh boy, a bit like the let them theory. I know Mel Robbins is all over the place about that right now.
Yeah.
But it was a bit like, it's her journey. And I was going on to a friend about it. And Ray Don Chong, who's a really good friend, she's left the country. She's in Baja. She's in Mexico. And I was telling her about, how I think that this is going to go, right? Like I was being so negative. And she's like, but what if this? And what if this happened? And what if this? And I'm like, why didn't I think of that? Because we're so tunnel vision. Like we think there's one way for everybody. And I know you had your zigs and zags learning as well.
How old is she? Remind me.
She's going to be 20.
Oh yeah, I think back to me when I was 20. I had no idea what I wanted. Did you? Like, what did you think at 20? What did you think you were going to be? Who were you going to be?
I wanted to be in the arts. I wanted to be an actor, musician.
So you did really to follow through all the way.
I did. And I did, and I started doing commercials and became the Labatt's Blue Girl and like all the beer commercials and got a good career in that and worked in TV. But then I've zigged and zagged a lot of times.
Yeah.
But I think that it's just there's no one path,
That's it.
and I was out the other night with some friends and they were like, well, one friend, and then she ran into another friend and they were like talking about their kids and they're all almost at Ivy Leagues and they're going to go apprentice in New York under this businessman, and then they're going to go to Saint-Tropez, and then we're a little upset his golf score is not that high, and I'm like, yeah, my daughter dropped out, and then shut down the conversation,
Yeah. Where did that leave everything? Like what happens next with her? Is she moving home?
No, she's going to stay where she is, and she's got a job, and she's going to meet with her hospitality professor and look into other things, and she's taking responsibility, and she's on her path. But it goes back to you never know what's going on with people, and holding on to these images or these tropes of what things are supposed to be like, and they're just not.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about generation too. When I talk, so I am diagnosed with ADHD, and when I talk to my parents about it, they still are like, "What?" It's just something from their generation that was for 12-year-old boys who couldn't concentrate. They don't understand the idea of an adult woman being diagnosed with this, and not that it's there's nothing bad about it, but I think that they have complicated relationships with the word ADHD from their generation.
Right. And the thing is now it's getting diagnosed more than ever in women. Shannon Watts, who we interviewed, ADHD. And that's become a positive for her. It's it's a great quality because she can multitask and tweet when a mass shooting's going on. She's just got that brain that she can do a million things. So it's and it's also outcome, right? You think if you have a certain thing, you're going to have a certain outcome, but that's just not true. The paths that get you to where you're going to go, the zigging and zagging, and again, these choices we make for ourselves, the small ones and the big ones, we really don't know where we're going to end up. So that's been a big lesson for me because I like to know.
It'll play into this next chapter, which is embracing the unknowns.
The unknowns, exactly. And if anybody's listening to this, to Sarah and I, please write in. Tell us about what challenges or changes you're going through. Because here's a question for you. What do you think prevents us from making these big U-turns? Do you think it's fear? What do you think it is? What are we so scared of?
Yeah, it's image. Exactly like you said with your daughter, I feel like we have an idea of who we think we're supposed to be. And that's where, fear can come in and tear it apart. But letting go of that is also like, oh, I can be whoever I want to be next. And
Yeah.
I actually can decide it. No one else needs to. So it can be very freeing.
Very liberating.
Very liberating. But like another thing I think that stops people is just like, you know, I think both of us can speak and say that, like, you know, we have some privilege as white women, and, you know, the circles we find ourselves in, we're very lucky. But yeah, like, you know, not everyone can like pick up and go away somewhere. So if you're searching for that next chapter and finding a different type of freedom, that's where you have to create it within yourself and within your environment, trying something new in your neighborhood, right? Like there's so many different ways to reinvent yourself.
Right, exactly. Because, you know, some of like the big changes are big, like traveling or moving, but then the small changes, and it's, you know, it's honestly like a friend of mine like took up flamenco dancing, and she's got like this whole thing, or another like friend joined the library and, you know, is helping with historic books, like whatever turns you on, like any little thing, like any little change you make, like if you think of yourself as the greatest creation, which we are, and we do create our own lives, like all these little things that you do, big or small, you know, make a huge difference. And I'm thinking about some of the women we've interviewed who are in their 70s and are trouncing around in bikinis, and I always start with them, or Caroline, or the last woman we interviewed, Cherie. That's bravery. That is bravery, being able to do that. You know, that's risk, putting yourself out there.
In comparison, like even, you know, having a nice conversation with someone in the local coffee shop and then being like, hey, do you want to meet back here in a week? It was great talking to you, right? Like even that little micro decision to make a new friend, that's bravery too.
I know. It's good. Some of my best friends are later friends.
Yep.
That I found in my 50s or my early 60s. Well, my 60s. I'm 60 adjacent. I'm 62. I'm going to be 63 shortly. Deepak would not be proud of me because I'm holding a lot of importance to the number. But so this is what I'm doing. I'm moving back to the Great White North. And, you know, politically, I won't go into politics a lot right now, but what's getting me through is I listen to really smart people like Tim Miller on the Bulwark, Bill Crystal, Pod Save America, Sam Harris. These people are really smart, and we'll be talking like objectively about what's actually going on. It's really interesting to hear because they gave like a whole thing about crypto. I didn't really understand the whole crypto grift and everything, but it's just, so what's important to me right now is staying informed as much as I can about a lot of things, and whatever I can do. Like I did this little post the other day on my social media because I buy a lot of dresses from Ukraine to support the war effort, and the women who do all the work give all their money to weapons. So I, of course, support Ukraine and Zelensky and all those beautiful people. And I posted this little video, and a shitload of women ordered dresses from Ukraine. And, you know, just a small little thing, like any small little thing that we can do. And I was so happy to do that, and I love doing that. So I want to continue to do that as well.
Who knows? Maybe you'll start like your own nonprofit.
Maybe I'll run for office in Toronto.
Oh my God. So many options.
What will I run for? We have to think about it.
When you need a campaign manager, though, just saying.
You're so fucking on it. You're the bitch to ask. We'll reach out to Jan Arden for some tips too.
Yeah.
Because she's so unfiltered. She's so good, right?
Yeah. So
did that scare you a little?
What? Jan being unfiltered? No.
Yeah. Yeah, but to get involved.
Well, that's where I was going next. And like when I started saying like what's in the neighborhood and what are some things that you might want to spend more time on, like, you know, new interests, old interests, revisiting interests that you kind of lost over the years. What are some of those things, like in closing?
LGBTQ.
Especially
for sure.
Your son.
Because of my son. And I used to do work here for the youth shelter. And there was, I would say 30%, 40% of the population was transitioning. And, you know, some of the transitioners were like ultra fab RuPaul, and then some were just kids from Kansas or Oklahoma wearing a dress to feel at home. So I love those kids. So I want to help out there. And
Toronto has a big drag brunch scene as well.
Oh, thank God. We'll go. And Casey House. So I've got some cool things that I'm going to do. So I'm excited about that. And then the last two things I wanted to end with, because I always ask my guest, is what is the beauty in aging and what is your motto? Okay. Okay.
I'm laughing because, so I turned 38 last week.
That's nothing.
I know.
That's nothing.
I know.
Yeah.
And like hanging out with gals like Jan Arden, like aging is not something I'm scared about. And even with you, right? Like I love the women who love aging.
She's older than I am, by the way, by a month. By a month. Yeah.
So I have this new hair tool. This is just a funny side story.
Hair
it's
tool.
It's like a 3-barrel little thing. It looks like you can crimp your hair with it. Okay?
Right.
Well, I'm in physio because of my forearm having these like nerve tingles and pins and needles. And I'm like, what the? So 38 is injuring your forearm.
Mm-hmm. Doing your hair.
With your hair. My physiotherapist was laughing so hard at me. He's like, I mean, I've had some weird ones come in, but this might be the first time a hair tool.
I know. What's the lesson? Do some weights, maybe?
I mean, strengthen. Yeah. I don't know.
I'm thinking.
But yeah, it was like super heavy and like you're basically going like this over and over again using the same muscles. Anyway, all of that to say, the beauty in aging is that, every year you're adding experiences to your life. Right. So every year you have new things in the toolbox, new ways to handle how you react to hard things, new ways to understand different perspectives, right? When you meet someone who has a completely different background than you, but you understand them a little better because of other people that you've crossed paths with, right? There's so many beautiful things about aging, and I am not afraid of it at all.
And you've got the other arm to do the hair tool. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'll be crimping with the left arm until I'm in physio with the left arm. But
you'll be crimping, and then you'll have somebody by that time who'll move in and crimp for you.
Yeah, banking on me having my own personal crimp styler. Yes,
you're going to, or a man, something. Okay, I love that. I absolutely agree, because you just don't care as much anymore. Because you really are, it's all sort of about finding your authentic self and what that means. And it's very liberating. It's really great. And I think in closing, my motto would be, and Bette Midler and I share this motto, and I think it's a good one. And it's, fuck them if they can't take a joke.
Of course.
I think it's a good motto. You always have to have a little humor.
What do you want to call this episode?
Fuck them if they can't take a joke. No, what I want to call it is, oh, Canada, I'm coming home. I'm excited about it. And again, I'm a proud citizen of both countries. I love them both. And I'm going to do a little sojourn in Canada for a while. So I'm looking forward to that.
I will see you soon. And if you need anything in your dramatic move, I am here.
Are you, though?
I will even help you unpack. I'll bring a bottle of wine and pizza. If you need to unpack, I got you.
Okay, let's do that.
Yeah, send us voice notes. By the way, you can leave a voice note for Mary Jo on the Senior Bitches website. So womeninmedia.network/shows/Senior Bitches. I'll have it in the show notes.
Perfect. And thank you so much for listening today to our final broadcast from Los Angeles. And here's to great times ahead in Canada. Can't wait to reconnect north of the border.